Good afternoon. This is a review that I wrote, and that was back in May 8, 2016. And it was about the Calendar Girls. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful opportunity for women. Here are a few words to say about the director of the play. Director Denni Hunting has created a fabulous orchestration of fluid, emotional beauty among her highly talented women and men in this heart-wrenching and continuously amusing masterpiece of Tim Firth. Hunting has threaded the brilliant dialogue, connected soundly to its balanced measures of emotion throughout every scene, and every actor is realistically grounded. The genius of the Calendar Girls is a seamless bond of love between these six glorious women. I found myself being transported into Balboa Park once again, with its charmingly gorgeous forest of trees and white stone tables and benches where my Icelandic grandmother Laura and her chorus of bridge-card elder ladies shared lunch prepared for a king, and their musical peaches of entitled chatter reaching out to my 8 years old ears. Never before or thereafter I have ever enjoyed that kind of joyous assembly of jolly ladies bonded in one until watching the Old Town Playhouse's production of the Calendar Girls.
It's a story about a group of friends, women friends. One of them has a husband who is dying of cancer. And when he passes away, they want to do something to honor him, and that honor will be to buy a new settee for the relatives' room at the hospital, because the one that's there has it's old, and when you sit on it, evidently it pokes you in the bum. So they decide to buy a new settee. The Women's Institute, which is a social club they all belong to, famous for their cooking and knitting and craft skills, they know they're not going to make enough money through those things for the calendar this year, which was going to be bridges of the area. So they do a little research and find out that that flesh sells, and they decide to make a partially new calendar, and the calendar takes off big time, and they make enough money to not only buy top drawer settee for the hospital, but to donate a considerable amount of money to the hospital. It's a true story, which makes it just, I think, delightful, just wonderful. Women's Institute began in England around 1915, when the First World War was taking men away from home and farmers out of their fields, and so the women took over and tried to grow things and fix things and make things to help the neighborhood. It's a rural, generally, group. During the Second World War, they were able to relocate people during the bombing in London, bring people into the country, put families in homes where they would be safe during that awful time in England. And to this day, the Women's Institute is thriving in England and in Europe, focusing far more on women's education and skill building that they can use in the workplace. They did some of that early on, but today it's more of that. And yet they still do the craft and raising flowers and growing things and knitting. But these gals, because of that, were friends. And John, the fellow that died, had left a little legacy for his wife and her friends. He gave them sunflowers to plant on the hill outside of town. He was a park ranger, and he loved the area. He spent 30 years working in the area. So they took the sunflower seeds and planted them because John said it was one of his favorite flowers, even though it wasn't indigenous to England. But what was his quote? The flowers of Yorkshire are like the women of Yorkshire, and the last phase is the most glorious. So all these gals are over 30, middle-aged and up, and they risked people disliking what they were doing by making this calendar, but instead it turned around to be just a wonderful thing. They made 4. The reality is, I believe they made 4 calendars. And I think I read somewhere there's still one of the major cancer charity donors to this day in England. So it's a lovely story. It's a lovely story. Bring me my spear, clouds unfold. Bring me my chariot of fire. We are supposed to sing this song, but I'm the only one who is. Put a sock in it. You're ruining the atmosphere of Eastern mysticism. And now, ladies, moving to Tai Chi position number 1. The Tibetan archer. Moving to Tai Chi position number 2. The Tibetan yak. Moving into Tai Chi position number 3. The Tibetan yak being milked by the Tibetan archer. I was looking for, first of all, people who were courageous enough to take their bras off. And I said that at the very beginning, that this is what you're going to be doing. If you are not comfortable with that concept or that happening, then don't audition. Thank you, but don't. If you feel you can do this, then yes. That in itself is a spark of courage that I wanted to see in each one of these women. Every one of them in the story has lived through something, survived something in her life that's built a little courage and strength in them. And I kind of wanted to see that in people that audition who can bring me that either as an actress or as a human being and let that flow out of them as an actress. And I think I did a good job, because when I watched them on stage, they looked so real to me. Of course, I'm a little prejudiced, but I think they bring that reality, the gals that I cast, bring that reality to the story.
Can we just congratulate Cora? Oh, yes! Tonight's decoy was carried out by Lance Corporal Glee of the Royal Musical Corps. I thank you. Well done, Cora! Well done, Cora! Oh, Lord, here's Cora. One more time!
We had fun at every single rehearsal. People came in with smiles on their faces, ready to go to work. They got off book early so that they could begin to interact and begin to use whatever props we had. We had a couple of closed rehearsals where we started with wear your jeans, bring a robe and a towel, and you're going to take your top off and you're going to walk around the stage in your jeans wearing a towel around the top and do some talking and do some lines and see how that feels, and kind of baby steps toward the reveal. But no, it was a joyful process. I can't, people brought cookies, I brought candy every night, but mostly they brought energy, and they brought smiles, and they brought a love for the story. I think everybody in the cast really likes the story.
At first glance, the photos should look like your classic WIQ. Cakes and jams and so on and that. Everything you'd expect, except for one tiny thing. The person doing it is naked.
You! You're right. John would have loved this.
See, sweet one, see, you get a different girl. Paintings, knitting, gardening here, see? Until December, when I thought we'd do a group one of y'all together singing Christmas carols.
Oh, Lawrence, that is just, we love it. We absolutely, except for one small problem. He's a bloke.
Friendship and love. Friendship between lady friends, girlfriends, love for their husbands. There's so much caring among these gals that, if I had to use one word to describe the play, I'd say love. And I think that is symbolized by the sun color. Should be that. I'll let it go at that.
Have we stuffed the goose? Yes! Are our ding-dongs merrily on high? Yes! Then I think it's time. Off!
Three!
Off! In England,
Two!
green and pleasant,
there's such marvelous reality in the story that the audience identifies with everybody in the cast, I think. Maybe not Lady Crichtonshire that often in America, but every single character. And as they watch the play, the audience finds part of themselves in that story. And I've seen tears and laughter, and I've seen people hoot and holler and cheer for different characters in different situations on stage, and a total silence when people have talked about the cancer. The letter reading scene is very, very touching. We couldn't have the letters floating down from the ceiling, which is what was written into the script. But I used a table where they're close together and sitting and standing around the table in a basket full of letters, and they get to just share pieces. And I like that because they were close together. So yes, enjoy this play because it's a good one. It's a real good story.
Our Majesty's prison, Albany, and was mightily impressed by the sheer size of your
I just talked about the letter reading scene, which is one of my favorite moments. Ruth, her character is so darling. Her getting up the courage to come and be a part of the calendar is a great moment. Her facing off with her husband's girlfriend is another terrific moment. Jessie talking about what age is to her. Rod, Chris's husband, trying to balance what his wife wants and what they need because he's got a business going on, and the love that he has and the stress that goes with how can he make that balance work. I love the hearing Jerusalem. I wasn't aware of that song until I started working on the show. And I did some research and found out it's a William Blake poem that was put to music and was played for the king back in the early 1900s, and the king wept. He said, it's more beautiful than God Save the King. It should be the second national anthem. And it is a beautiful song. It's because my travels, the little travels I did in England, I know there's a story about Joseph of Arimathea bringing the baby Jesus, or young Jesus, to England, and that's mentioned in the song. So the beginning where we have Cora singing that is a favorite moment. There's so many favorite moments. I know that's not correct to have a lot of favorites, but I do. I have a lot of favorites just that I wait to see and go, oh yeah, yes, they did it again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The flowers of Yorkshire are like the women of Yorkshire. Every stage in their growth has its own beauty. But the last phase is always the most glorious. Then very quickly, they all go to seed, which makes it
me with my top off kind of photo shoot, jilted. I thought about it. I'm like, gosh, they are actually having so much fun up there doing that. I would like to sneak in and try it myself. And I thought about what I do, and they mentioned one about painting, and because I've done a lot of painting in my life, I thought that maybe, we're not even doing that one. I could do that one. Sure. I don't know if I felt jilted, but I felt like it would be fun to do. It would be fun to do.
Yes.
Sorry about the flower arranging pose, Chris. Want to put money on who makes the front cover?
Yeah, it's a shame. Backdrop? I had to make do with some poses.
One of the things that I tried, and evidently it worked, I tried to focus on early on with my cast, was to find the humor in the reality and no caricaturing of the characters, to keep them real and honest, to keep them honest. In honesty, there is humor. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to slip on a banana peel. This show has some wonderfully funny moments in it that help make it joyful. But that's what I would share. Keep it honest, keep it real. Don't let it go overboard one way or another. If you can keep it on that plane, you're right there with it. It's a good show.